Hawaii businesses and individuals have had a challenging 2009 and certainly a challenging 2010 economically. But are we going to turn the corner soon? Here today, join me on News Behind the News, Senator Sam Slom and Panos Prevedouros, Professor of Traffic Engineering at the University of Hawaii. Thank you for coming on the show.
Aloha, Malia. Thank you.
So what's the answer to the question?
The answer is real simple. We have not turned the corner. We continue to face challenges, and I think that the real problem is what the legislature has done and what the Congress is doing to all businesses, but particularly small businesses. They represent 98% of all businesses in the state of Hawaii, and certainly some businesses are doing quite well, which is great. I mean, we want to salute success, but the vast majority of businesses are really having a difficulty. They're having a difficulty paying the rent, paying the payroll, dealing with the increased unemployment compensation taxes, general excise taxes, property taxes, all of these things, and some of them are going to get worse because of the results of the 2010 legislative session.
So you're in the legislature. Why didn't you do something about it?
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what everybody says. Well, let's see. There are 2 Republicans out of 25 in the state Senate, and you know, people say, well, what can you do, or what should we do? And I tell them, you know, in some cases, the only thing that you can do is replace the people that you've got there. If you like things the way they are, then continue electing the same people that we elect all the time. If you don't, then you've got to have new blood. I mean, it's the same in the congressional level. We saw the tremendous election of Charles DeJoux, which signals a change in November. We're looking locally now at having a new mayor, a mayor who really is going to take care of the infrastructure that impacts on all individuals and on businesses too, because when people have to waste time and gasoline on bad roads and non-synchronized lights, they don't go as far to businesses, or they don't go as often as they did. And even businesses who are dependent on deliveries and all. It's a real cost. It's kind of the hidden cost that we don't see. So we need to have those changes, but that's the most simple or the most difficult answer. Change the people if you want to change in direction.
Well, before we get to Panos and the mayor and all that, and infrastructure, Sam, give us the lowdown on taxes. We have the highest overall tax burden, or close to it.
We're probably number 2 or number 3 in the country, according to the Tax Foundation Incorporated.
But then cost of living?
In the overall cost of living. And you know, everybody says, oh, well, the policies of the Federal Reserve have done a wonderful job in keeping prices down and keeping inflation down. Well, then you get into an economic argument as to what is inflation. Are we talking about expansion of the money supply? Well, that's one thing, but anybody knows, anybody that goes shopping for themselves, and as you know, I'm the shopper in the family, you go and you watch those prices of commodities and services. They go up, you know, 5 cents here, 15 cents there, 50 cents there, and it all adds up. And the problem for individuals and businesses is that as the price of utilities and other things go up, you don't have the ability to raise your prices to that extent, because at some point people they're going to back off. They do that already in terms of their restaurant use. They don't buy the appetizers that they used to. They don't buy as many desserts and things like that, or they don't go out as often as they did before. So it has that kind of impact. And what we're seeing is these taxes across the board, they affect and impact everybody. And the real killer in this is the Democrats want to end the tax cuts that were enacted during George W. Bush's day.
You're talking about in the Congress.
In the Congress. And they're scheduled to expire the end of this year. If they do, not only the expiration of those tax breaks, I call them, they're not really tax breaks. I mean, it just gives you the choice of using more of your money the way you want to. But if that happens, and the return of the death tax and all of that, it is absolutely going to be detrimental. You add that to what's happening in the Gulf, and you've got some very poor signs, but you've got a $14 trillion debt that's rising. We're printing money. We have our debt that's owned by foreign countries. We're not in control, and it's not a very good economic situation.
Right, and it's tough nationally and locally as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Panos, go ahead.
Actually, continue on the national front, Sam opened a very good point there, that these significant tax breaks or cuts are going away, number 1. Number 2, the effects of the Reinvestment Act and all the infrastructure that was happening nationally are beginning to die off as we're going into 2011, 2012. And then in many states, we have the implosion of the employee retirement system funds, that they lost a lot of money, and it's a huge unfunded liability, Hawaii included.
Absolutely.
Now, these three is actually almost like a lot of folks, and I've been reading an article in the Wall Street Journal, the three of them are the perfect storm for a pretty significant recession in 2012, which is really bad news for Hawaii, because if we start seeing some recovery next year, 2012 will actually be the beginning of another trough, and that could be very significant in our, a significant negative effect in our economy and the way that we run our state and local government, because already we have significant issues of deficits, furloughs, pay cuts, etc.
You know, Panos is right, and some of those rosier economic forecasts that came out of the UH Economics Department, for example, came out of DBED, they all preface, if you read them through, they were all very careful to say, well, we think that there are some positive signs now, which there are. I mean, you know, with the visitor industry and so forth. But they all prefaced it on, well, the real recovery would start and be significant in 2012, 2013. That's without all this other stuff that Panos is talking about. And, you know, even some of the improvement in retail sales, hey, let's take a look at it. Car sales improved. Why? Because we had the Cash for Clunkers government program. You had everybody rushing out to buy a new refrigerator. Why? Because you had the cash for, you know, all of these things. And basically what we're doing is taking money out of one of our pockets, putting it in the other, with dropping money along the way. You can't keep doing that, and that's not real economic stimulus. And as far as the increases in jobs, they're not private jobs. They're not long-term jobs. Most of these are Census Bureau jobs or part-time government jobs. So it's not a real healthy recovery.
Okay, in terms of, you're talking about debt. Overall for the state, what are we looking at in terms of our annual budget and what our fiscal challenges are?
Well, we're up to a $10 billion budget right now. The city just passed a nearly $2 billion budget, and if you add CIP, capital improvement projects, I mean, you get several $billion more. And that's why, you know, Panos has been such a bear on taking a look. The numbers just don't add up. And I know he'll go into detail on the things that we have to do right now. On top of that, you try to say, well, we're going to do a rail as well for, you know, $6 to $8 billion. The money's not there. And here's the untold secret. Nobody talks about this. Everybody salutes Dan Inouye for all the good things he's done, which is true. And they salute him for being 86 years old. And they salute him for being in the Senate for nearly 50 years. But nobody talks about what happens when we wake up one morning and Dan Inouye is not there. We don't have somebody as powerful and influential bringing money back to Hawaii, money that normally would go to Nebraska or go to New York or go to somewhere else. And we're not planning for that economic certainty in the future. We're not planning to improve our, you know, our economic business climate. Instead of it being a healthy business climate, for too many people, it's a hostile business climate, as was shown very clearly with the bill that was going to get rid of the Act 221 investment tax credits. Not only was it going to get rid of them, but it was going to retroactively get rid of them. It was going to invite lawsuits, and it sent a clear message. That damage has been done, even though Acting Governor Iona vetoed the bill, which is good. But that signal's already been sent to potential investors. Hey, why come to Hawaii? You don't know what they're going to do. They're going to say one thing on Tuesday and do another thing on Thursday.
Very unpredictable.
Unpredictable.
Right.